This week's episode of the Slash Filmcast is brought to you by Audible. Please visit audiblepodcast.com/filmcast for your free audiobook download. Again, that's audiblepodcast.com/ and then the word filmcast.
You watch the movies, flicks, tracks for the good, bad. It's the Slash Filmcast for the girls, boys, old, young, and we watch till the last of the credits is done.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Slash Filmcast, the official podcast of SlashFilm.com. My name is David Chen, and with me is
Devindra Hardwar.
Joining us today, he is the author of the book Film Critic, about his time in the film critic industry. Laramie Legal, welcome back to the Slash Filmcast.
Thank you so much for having me, gentlemen. I truly appreciate it.
How are sales going at this point, Laramie? Because I ask you every single time you come on the show.
I still sell them, believe it or not.
Excellent.
And I think it's because every time I review something or go on something, it gets mentioned, so that helps.
You're going to get the Slash Filmcast bump.
Well, I'm either going to get that or get the Slash Filmcast bumped off. One of the two.
I mean, why not both? Why not a posthumous? Why couldn't the book be a posthumous success?
That's true. Very true.
But Film Critic, a decade behind the scenes in the movie industry, is available on Amazon.com. If you like what Laramie has to say, I would recommend you go check it out. And if you don't like what he has to say, then you should still go check it out because Laramie's a cool guy. So
that's what I'm saying.
If you're just tuning into the Slash Filmcast for the first time, you can find more of our episodes at slashfilmcast.com. Email us. Let us know what you think of the podcast and of the movies that we review at slashfilmcast@gmail.com. Today we're going to be discussing what we've been watching, moving on into a dissection of the week's film news, which you can find at slashfilm.com, and then concluding with one in-depth review. This week, we'll be reviewing the much-anticipated film Pacific Rim, which is Guillermo del Toro's latest. Really looking forward to that review, guys. In the meantime, Laramie Legal, what have you been watching this week?
The first film I want to mention is Turbo, which I believe comes out on Wednesday, so I'm not breaking this embargo too hard. But I really, really liked it, which is one reason to sort of break it. I'm writing an A or an A- review for Film.com right now, and I know it looks kind of silly, but I find all children's films premises to be fairly silly. So this one really delivers. It's very clever. It's innovative. It has really good laughs throughout. Sam Jackson is one of the snail voices. He's really, really solid. Ryan Reynolds, I thought, had great comedic
So what
timing.
is the premise of the film, just so people...
The premise is a snail who wants to win the Indy 500.
All right, let's let that sink in for a moment.
Well, I mean, I don't. You're looking for realism out of your animation. That's the
I'm not saying realism. I'm just like
living toys is better.
We've seen lots of fantastical ideas. Sure, it's cute. Toys coming to life when we're not around. Oh, that's amazing. But it's. I do feel like. Even I've seen this trailer for Turbo with kids, and even they're like, really?
I cannot
Ignore the blackened husk of an organ that is Devindra's heart.
I can't wait to rail him on Pacific Rim on these very points. Turbo is very good. I think it's good for kids and adults. I think it's the best animation I've seen all year. And I think it's the best animation I've seen since Despicable Me 1. So I'll just throw that out.
When you say the best animation, you mean best animated film or best animation in terms of technically?
The best animated film, yeah.
I see.
Technically, it's the same as everything else. But DreamWorks has done a nice job with this, and I enjoyed it. I'll also mention Grown Ups 2, because I don't think anyone will ever talk about that ever again, especially on this podcast.
Well, hold on. Before you move on to the DreamWorks animation thing, I just want to quickly mention, they have a really... the thing is, DreamWorks Animation, they do not make that many films, right? So whenever they make a film, their fortunes are inextricably tied to how that film does. What was that movie with the Guardians?
Legend of the Guardians?
No, Rise of the Guardians, right?
Oh, yeah.
That was the last movie that they made, I think, and it performed pretty badly. It didn't do very well at the box office. I mean, worldwide it did okay, but it was not like a massive success like, let's say, a movie like How to Train Your Dragon was. And the stock kind of doesn't do well after they have kind of a movie that's rocky. So I am kind of curious how Turbo is going to do, especially because I haven't heard anything about it. But hopefully, Laramie, your review will drive a lot of butts into seats this week.
Well, the sad part is that it could be the best animation or animated film of the year and not make any money. I mean,
right.
It's better than Despicable Me 2 and Monsters, but it doesn't have that built-in marketing, over the last 3 to 10 years that those films have. So it could very well fail and be a good film at the same time. But it has those children's tropes, of course. It has a couple of those, but they're not as egregious as even in Monsters University, in my opinion. And it shows an awful lot of imagination, and it's way better than the premise would suggest. So,
on that note, have
Yes.
any of you seen the trailer for How to Train Your Dragon 2?
No.
Because that teaser hit this week, and it was amazing, guys.
Really?
I'm so looking forward to this movie. Yes,
Dave, I'm sure you're like all geared up. For this.
I'm 100%
Just
serious right now. Like it's 2 minutes, and it's just Hiccup flying with Toothless and doing all these crazy air tricks, and that is the whole trailer. Like there's nothing else. You have no idea what the plot is. You see Hiccup has like kind of grown up a lot. His face looks different. He looks taller and everything. But everything else looks the same. I mean, Toothless looks the same, and the style of animation is the same. But just an amazing trailer. Like it's like a scene from the movie, just totally lifted out and just put into teaser trailer form. So very effective. And that movie is hitting, I believe, in summer of 2014. So super looking forward to that movie by DreamWorks Animation. But yeah, Turbo will be out in theaters by the time or soon after you listen to this. And according to Laramie Legal, you should check it out. Laramie, what else have you been watching this week? Grown Ups 2?
I'm totally in the bag for How to Train Your Dragon 2, by the way. It's a Seattle director, and I love the first one, so I'm with you on that. Grown Ups 2 is not good, but it's not good in a way you wouldn't expect. It looks from the trailers to be really, really awful throughout, and that's not the case. It's just more boring throughout. It's about 85% of innocuous goo, and so it's not good. I mean, it's a D+, C- or something, but it's not as awful as people urinating on each other or hitting each other with their butts and faces would suggest, because there's only about 5 minutes of that. So I do give them credit for not totally ruining the film industry, but clearly it's not a movie you should ever see. So
I see. I was very disappointed to see that Grown Ups 2 beat out Pacific Rim at the box office this week.
Disappointed, but it's America. Come on.
Kind of a huge.
I was in a semi-populated screening of Pacific Rim Thursday night in San Francisco. Grown Ups 2 lines out the doors, guys, for Grown Ups 2.
That is disappointing. Despicable Me 2 took the top of the box office with 44 million. Grown Ups 2 after it with 42 million, and Pacific Rim 38 million. So. It's going to be a tough road ahead for Pacific Rim.
Is that Guillermo del Toro's biggest opening, though?
Not 100% sure about that. Let me check on that. But in the meantime, you should not go see Grown Ups 2.
Pacific Rim is going to do massive amounts of money overseas, like a 4 or 5 multiplier on what it does here in the States. So I think they're more than fine because it's a movie without any dialogue. So
I mean,
the last one.
I mean, the movie has already made more money overseas than it has in the United States. So
Yeah, but it'll be 3 or 4 times that when all said and done, pretty easily.
Right. Whereas Grown Ups 2
will make zero.
Will not make as much money because people will look at that movie in subtitles and think to themselves, "What is going on here?"
Well, we don't spread that particular brand of comedy to other nations, thank goodness. So
Right.
the last one I would recommend is I just saw Jiro Dreams of Sushi, and I realize everyone has seen that before me, but I finally caught it on Netflix instant last night. It was a great meditative film on excellence and repetitiveness and getting better at your craft. And for documentaries, I loved how minimalist it was and how intimate it was. I think so many documentaries these days are preaching or have this, huge point of view and something to sell you, whereas Jiro Dreams of Sushi was just a really intimate look at a guy who's an expert at his craft, and I found it to be really compelling and, sort of beautiful. So
Yeah, a great film about food and a great film about art and perfection. Jiro Dreams of Sushi, available on Netflix Watch Instant, right, Laramie? Is that how you saw it? Yeah.
Yep.
So check it out. Wow, it's cool. Good thing you have a Netflix Watch Instant subscription, huh, Laramie?
Yes, a brilliant man bought that for me.
Excellent. All right. Well, in any case, that's what Laramie's been watching this week. Let me talk about a couple things. I want to talk about a movie called The ABCs of Death. Now, Jen Yamato brought this movie up a couple weeks ago. I finally had a chance to see it because I heard on Film Spotting SVU that this movie was available on Netflix Watch Instantly as, for free watching. Devindra, have you seen ABCs of Death?
Not yet. I'll check it out at some point.
Laramie, have you seen it?
It doesn't feel like the sort of film I would watch as a fraidy cat. Yeah.
Gotcha. So ABCs of Death. For those who don't know what this is like a new film or relatively new film by Drafthouse Pictures, like the film distributing arm of the Alamo Drafthouse. And what they did was they got together 26 directors from all around the world and gave them, a letter of the alphabet and complete artistic freedom to do whatever they wanted. I think they also gave them a small budget, but it was very small. It was like in the thousands of dollars. And kind of let them loose and then just assembled all 26 short films into one film. It's called The ABCs of Death. And here's the thing of The ABCs of Death. A lot of these clips, a lot of these short films, in my opinion, are just flat out bad. Like, I would say more than 50% of them are not just unpleasant to watch, because they're all unpleasant to watch, but sometimes in a good way. You know what I mean? Because it's each one of them deals with an inherently unpleasant thing. But a lot of them, some of them seem actually quite lazy. Some of them are just outright garbage. But within the sort of cauldron of this anthology film, there are actually a few good ones to find, and a couple of ones I just want to point out are D is for Dogfight is actually remarkable in my opinion. Just the entire short film is in slow motion and with no dialogue, and what they're able to communicate is pretty amazing. And Ben Wheatley did a pretty fantastic piece, all shot from first-person perspective. And I will say that L for Libido is probably one of the single most messed up things I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, it is... there's images in that short film that will haunt me for the rest of my life. I'm not even exaggerating. And it's actually directed by Timo, and I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but he's the guy that co-directed the Gareth Evans segment of VHS2, Devindra. Yeah. So he's kind of a collaborator with him. He made L is for Libido, and I mean, wow, that was just like this is really troubling. It is really troubling segment of
so
film.
It sounds like it's a little bit of Movie 43 meets Paris Je t'aime, but with good parts, unlike Movie 43, and about the alphabet, unlike Paris Je t'aime.
I mean, or you could just say, it's like VHS2 except 26 segments and without the found footage conceit. Like however you want to describe it. There's many ways you could cut it. It's cool.
We are marketers.
That's right. But so I have to say, like, the movie is 2 hours long because it's 26 segments, and I didn't find myself enjoying like more than half of that time. But the other half of that time, there was enough interesting stuff, there was enough brilliant stuff there that I actually think it was worth watching, especially if you have Netflix and it's already basically free. I would totally check it out. Even just for D is for Dogfight. Like, if you watch the first 20 minutes, get to D is for Dogfight, and then just stop, like, that is a worthwhile experience right there. But ABCs of Death, again, out on Netflix Watch Instant. I believe they're actually making a sequel to it, so they did well enough that they're going to make a sequel. So I am, cautiously looking forward to that. And I do want to also give a shout out to the Japanese segments, which almost play like a parody of what you think a Japanese horror film would be like.
Who are the directors for those? Do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head, but there's like these Japanese. The Japanese segments are all like really, almost like impressionistic, and really just gross.
Japan.
Noboru Iguchi directed F is for Fart, which is about a woman who dies from inhaling another woman's farts.
Doesn't Sue Grafton does this technique? Do this technique with the letter.
Books. That's right. Yeah.
It's such a weird conceit because it's like F is for fart. There's no reason that should exist, right? There's no organic reason that would ever come into play.
Yeah. Well, the director was allowed to choose the word, by the way.
Right. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. And Yoshihiro Nishimura directed Z is for Zetsumetsu, which is the Japanese word for extinction. And I mean, that is here. I just read the Wikipedia summary for it. An abstract series of events dealing with revisionist views of Japanese relations with the West. This short is teeming with graphic nudity, a game show environment, cultural elements from World War II, such as U.S. occupation and nuclear energy, metaphors and symbols of modern society like rice and sushi, and blatant references to Dr. Strangelove that include a common theme that not only has evil persisted, but has been reborn. So, if that sounds like it interests you, then check it out.
If you're going to be teaming with anything, though, it should be graphic nudity.
I
think
agree.
we can all, yeah.
I agree for sure. But yeah, there's a couple other good ones I want to mention. P is for Pressure. Any short film that like was able to convey really powerful ideas with no dialogue whatsoever, I really kind of admired. Ben Wheatley did U is for Unearth, the one I referred to earlier. I also think there's no dialogue in that one. A lot of them had no dialogue, actually, because the film is very short and they want to just make an impression, and they did it really well. So, but anyway, so some decent ones in there, a bunch of really forgettable, some actually outright terrible ones. So ABC's of Death, that's my thoughts on it, and check it out on Netflix Watch Instant. Speaking of Netflix Watch Instant, there's also a new show, a new series out on Netflix this weekend, and that was called Orange is the New Black. And it's the new series by showrunner Genji Cohen, who is the creator of the Showtime original series Weeds. Devindra, I think you're a fan of Weeds, right?
Yeah. I liked Weeds for several seasons up until it got kind of bad and I gave up, but it's nice to see her back.
Yeah.
I watched all the Weeds, and you're right that it definitely fell off the rails, but most of them had at least one good thing in it.
What's interesting about Orange is the New Black is, like, I've seen the reviews, and the reviews have been uniformly, like, incredibly positive. In a way, like, I really loved House of Cards, but, the reviews of that were like, oh, this is this is like a mid-tier, HBO
What,
or
really?
Showtime drama. Yeah.
That's not what I remember. All the reviews I read were definitely over the top.
No, okay. Well, we'll have to list our reviewers that we read at some point, but that's not my recollection. I mean, but this one, I have not heard anyone say this is a middling show or this is a bad show. Everyone has been incredibly effusive with their praise. And I have to say, I totally agree with it. I mean, this is a great show. I've seen the first 3 episodes last night, and it's a memorable cast of characters. The premise of the show is that there's a character, Piper Chapman, who did some crime. Was involved in a crime 10 years ago, and then has recently been discovered. And then now, she kind of has built up a fine suburban life for herself, but now must go to jail for 13 months. And the first few episodes, you're kind of following Piper as she goes into jail and learns all the different customs and meets this incredible cast of characters. And also you're having flashbacks of not just Piper but other characters as well, learning about their backstories. And I think the story is just really brilliantly told, but most importantly, the characters and the actors that portray them are just really interesting. And I love this show. Devindra, what do you think of it? You've seen it.
Yeah, I just saw the first episode last night. I thought it was fine. It was exactly the sort of drama you'd expect. I think it sort of intriguingly delves into the world of a women's prison and just building that whole thing up. But also, it makes you really care about Piper Chapman and her struggle, even though she's going from kind of a privileged life into something far, far worse. The only worry I have is Laura Prepon, who she from that 70s show. I liked her in that show, but have to say everything she's been in since then has been kind of she's been horrendous in it. So I'm worried that she will crumble the show. But beyond that, I like the cast. I like the actual story. And I don't know. I like what Genji Cohen tends to go for is just middle class women Breaking Bad, basically.
Yeah,
and
right.
It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and I just for the record, I think Laura Prepon does just fine in the stuff that I've seen her in this show.
Sure.
And one of my favorite characters is seeing Kate Mulgrew play this kind of Eastern European chef. Right, of sorts, totally, almost completely unrecognizable. Because this was Captain Janeway from Star Trek Voyager, man. And so, sort of seeing her make a physical and character transformation is pretty remarkable.
Well, this is after her in the NTSF SUV as well.
Oh yes,
she was a lot of fun there.
Right.
Devindra, I went to go find a thing on Laura Prepon I liked, just to contradict you, and could not. So.
It's impossible.
Yeah, you were right.
But yeah, Orange is the New Black. I mean, this is a great show, and the thing is, the character, the protagonist, is kind of an audience surrogate. I mean, if you have Netflix and you're watching the show, you probably are, can at least relate to the protagonist in some way.
Sure.
And so you're kind of entering this world and learning its rules. And I do think they do a really good job of building up this whole world of this prison, from the set design to just the casting is really incredible, I think. So, big fan. Orange is the New Black. Check it out on Netflix. And speaking of Orange is the New Black, we got to thank our sponsor for this week, Audible. Audible is one of the finest purveyors of spoken audio content on the internet. And if you're listening to this podcast, you'd probably enjoy something from Audible. Well, guess what, guys? If you sign up at audiblepodcast.com/filmcast, that's audiblepodcast.com/filmcast, it entitles you to a free book, whether you stay with Audible or not. And this week, the book that I'm going to recommend is Orange is the New Black, because Orange is the New Black is actually based on a true story. And the book is written by Piper Kerman and narrated by Cassandra Campbell. The title of the book is Orange is the New Black, My Year in Women's Prison. I'm going to read from the description here. From her strip search to her last days, Kerman learns to navigate this strange world with its strictly enforced codes of behavior and arbitrary rules, where the uneasy relationship between prisoner and jailer is constantly and unpredictably recalibrated. She meets women from all walks of life who surprise her with small tokens of generosity, hard words of wisdom, and simple acts of acceptance. Heartbreaking, hilarious, and at times enraging, Orange is the New Black offers a rare look into the lives of women in prison, why it is we lock so many away, and what happens to them when they're there. And, speaking from just seeing the first few episodes, like, you do get a sense of, from the TV show, of like the sense, the kind of random, the occasionally random senselessness of the, of our system. You know what I mean? Devindra, do you know what I'm talking about? Like just this idea that, like, this woman who committed this crime 10 years ago, totally like a productive member of society, why is it that you have to kind of lock her away for a year, take her out of being a productive member of society for something that, probably, again, I don't know, maybe didn't really hurt that many people, right? Like, sometimes the system doesn't make sense, sometimes it's absurd, and my understanding is that this book, Orange is the New Black, My Year in a Woman's Prison by Piper Kerman, helps to reveal some of that absurdity. So, check that out at audiblepodcast.com/filmcast. That's audiblepodcast.com/filmcast. A big thanks to Audible for supporting the /filmcast. And speaking of people who support the /filmcast, we just want to give a quick shout out to all the people that donated money to the show this week. Thanks so much to Robert from Marlton, New Jersey, some guy from Taiwan whose name I couldn't read because it was all in Chinese, but, Taiwan, I'm a big fan. And Jorge from Vancouver for his very generous donation. Really appreciate it, guys. Thank you for donating to the /filmcast, supporting what we do here. Thanks also to Martin B., Dan G., and Robert Wilson for their subscriptions at the rate of $2 per month. If you'd like to support what we do here, you can always go to /film.com and click on the /filmcast tab. Use the PayPal links to support this podcast. Let's move on into discussion of news. All right, so as you guys know, the Ender's Game movie, based on the Orson Scott Card book Ender's Game, is coming out this year. And just a side note, like, I've been very underwhelmed with the marketing I've seen. Devindra and Laramie, I don't know how you feel like.
Yeah, same deal.
The trailer is not very good, especially given the source material. I think it is pretty good. So.
Yeah, I mean, the source material is extraordinary, right? I mean, it's probably one of my favorite books that I've ever read. But the trailer and also all like the one sheets, like the posters, everything I've seen just makes it look like a really generic science fiction movie, which is.
I think they've completely missed the tone on the book and made it Harrison Ford action movie, as you pointed out, and it just looks very tropish and very generic. Yeah,
I'm kind of afraid. Well, in any case, Lionsgate is kind of a little bit on edge about this film's fortunes, primarily because Ender's Game, again, the book is written by Orson Scott Card. Now, in the past few years, Orson Scott Card has made some, shall we say, controversial statements about homosexuality.
No, this has been going on for a while. Like,
okay,
for
you're
the
right.
Past two decades.
For the past 2 decades. Okay, you're right. It's been a couple decades. It's been a couple
even longer
decades.
than that, actually. Yeah.
Let me read here from the Wikipedia page for Orson Scott Card some of his quotes, right? So in 1990, Card called for laws that ban consensual homosexual acts to, quote, remain on the books, not to be indiscriminately enforced against anyone who happens to be caught violating them, but to be used when necessary to send a clear message that those who flagrantly violate society's regulation of sexual behavior cannot be permitted to remain as acceptable, equal citizens within that society. Now, to be
Of
fair,
course. Sure. I get that.
to be fair, this was. This was.
I can't wait to hear you be fair on this.
Well,
be fair,
there were laws on the books banning homosexual sodomy at the time. I'm not saying obviously we have struck many of those laws down, but I'm just saying he was kind of like drafting.
He wasn't so far afield from the time. Maybe is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying his views are not reprehensible. I'm just saying that he was kind of keeping with some of what he was seeing in the legal scene. And he's actually come out later and said, I have no interest in criminalizing homosexual acts and would never call for such a thing any more than I wanted such laws enforced back when they're still in the books, end quote.
So that's a refutation a little bit.
Okay, all right. Okay, so you're thinking to yourself, okay, maybe Card is not such a terrible human being. But then, in 2008, he wrote, there is no branch of government with the authority to redefine marriage. When government is the enemy of marriage, then the people who are actually creating successful marriages have no choice but to change governments by whatever means is made possible or necessary. How long before married people answer the dictators thus? Regardless of law, marriage has only one definition, and any government that attempts to change it is my mortal enemy. I will act to destroy that government and bring it down so it can be replaced with a government that will respect and support marriage and help me raise my children in a society where they will expect to be married in their turn. End quote.
In fairness.
No, there's still no.
But to be fair, guys.
Let me just say, as a person who's in a somewhat successful marriage and knows folks who are gay married, they have ruined my marriage. Like with all their gay marrying, they've totally destroyed my marriage. Now, I want
to less now. Yeah.
Of all the reasons to rally against a government, man, this is like 1 trillionth on the list of idiotic things. Like it makes zero sense.
In a 2004 essay entitled Homosexual Marriage and Civilization, Card wrote, quote, the dark secret of homosexual society, the one that dares not speak its name, is how many homosexuals first entered into that world through a disturbing seduction or rape or molestation or abuse, and how many of them yearn to get out of the homosexual community and live normally. So I'm not going to.
And all straight people have no trauma in their childhood, and all gay people have only trauma in their childhood.
That's right.
Got it.
I'm gonna, I'm not gonna keep going, but let's just suffice to say he's written a lot of controversial things. And
he is kind of a crazy person. We've known he's been saying stuff like this for a while. It's not just the stuff you're finding now, Dave, but also like a lot of it's rooted in his like very conservative Mormonism. Like it's all around that. And he's been a despicable person for a very long time. So now there's a movie on
I am going to defend something in a second on him in a hot minute once we get to the next thing, I think.
Well, Lionsgate is seeing like the reaction and kind of wants to nip it in the bud. So they released a statement this week. As proud longtime supporters of the LGBT community, champions of films ranging from Gods and Monsters to The Perks of Being a Wallflower, and a company that is proud to have recognized same-sex unions and domestic partnerships within its employee benefits policies for many years, we obviously do not agree with the personal views of Orson Scott Card and those of the National Organization for Marriage. However, they are completely irrelevant to a discussion of Ender's Game. The simple fact is that neither the underlying book nor the film itself reflects these views in any way, shape, or form. On the contrary, the film not only transports viewers to an entertaining and action-filled world, but it does so with positive and inspiring characters who ultimately deliver an ennobling and life-affirming message. Lionsgate will continue its long-standing commitment to the LGBT community by exploring new ways we can support LGBT causes. As part of this ongoing process, we'll host a benefit premiere for Ender's Game. End quote. Now, some people have still, like, even in spite of this, still come out against the film. Drew McWeeny wrote a piece about this where, and again, I'm going to say right off the bat, like, I may not fully capture the nuance in his argument, but what he's saying is essentially that if the movie is successful, it will be good for Orson Scott Card. right? And because for a variety of reasons, let's say Orson Scott Card has some percentage of the grosses. Unlikely, but let's say he does. Then it will benefit him financially that way. But even if that's not the case, he may, like, the movie will raise the profile of the book, and more people may read or buy the book,
Sure.
and then that will benefit Orson Scott Card. And that because Orson Scott Card supports a organization that is so contrary to people's beliefs on the sort of validity of gay marriage, Drew McWeeny came out and said he would not write about this movie. He would not see it. He would not support it in any way.
Could I just stop you right there?
Yeah. So a lot of people are actually like really passionately arguing against what Drew is saying.
That's where I would be too. I think the problem with Drew's argument is it posits this idea that anyone who is on the wrong side of history then has no value artistically to society, which I think Ender's Game could be read by same-sex couples and enjoyed. You could donate a percentage of Ender's Game to LGBT causes. Like, this idea that a sum positive goes to Orson Scott Card because Ender's Game happens to be a good movie and the book happens to be good is way, way far afield and irrelevant. Like, people are flawed. People have flawed views. Art is a different thing. Like, you have to separate out art from artists. And if we're only going to like the art of people who are morally clean to us, it's going to be a pretty slim list.
Yeah, and you look at the great works of art, even right now, like maybe some painters that you quite enjoy, maybe not that great people, maybe kind of insane, maybe cruel to women. There are quite a few of them out there. And we've had this argument before, too, around like Roman Polanski and even like Michael Bay and just like the shitty things he said about women, his like general misogyny in his films. I guess we do try to separate art from the artist. I think everything Orson Scott Card has been saying is just completely reprehensible. Even the latest thing. I think the latest thing, and I can see why Drew made the decision he did, because it's like the icing on the cake of hate and bigotry. It's like, hey guys, okay, you won, leave me alone, please be tolerant of my intolerance. And that's the biggest crock of shit I've heard in a long, long time. So I can understand that, but I don't know if ignoring the movie entirely is the best way to talk about it. I think bringing up Card's issues consistently is probably better, keeping the conversation going.
Well, Devindra, to sort of clarify what you're saying, you were talking about how Orson Scott Card recently said the following, right? Quote, Ender's Game is set more than a century in the future and has nothing to do with political issues that did not exist when the book was written in 1984. With the recent Supreme Court ruling, the gay marriage issue becomes moot. The full faith and credit clause of the Constitution will sooner or later give legal force in every state to any marriage contract recognized by any other state. Now it will be interesting to see whether the victorious proponents of gay marriage will show tolerance toward those who disagreed with them when the issue was still in dispute, end quote. It's that last quote that has gotten a lot of people. It's that last quote that's gotten a lot of people pissed off because he is pleading for tolerance. Many people say for tolerance for his intolerant views. Laramie, what were you going to say?
Well, I mean, the problem with, again, the not seeing it, not supporting an argument, it is greeting intolerance with intolerance. It's like the ostrich idea of that if we just stick our head in the sand and think this person doesn't exist, that will somehow make them go away. You have to engage on this issue. I don't think the Supreme Court ruling was nearly as helpful as it could have been. You still have 37 or 38 states who've outlawed who don't recognize gay marriage. And so if you believe in that issue, if you believe in same-sex couples, you need to get out and be active on that issue. You need to donate to those causes. You need to vote your heart on that issue. You can't just say, well, the people who disagree with me, I'm going to ignore and I don't like. Like, that's not going to work. You have to engage hearts and minds on this and win the future, not be negative towards people who have a different view than you. Because it doesn't help. Like, ultimately, you have to win it through positivity.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I respect Drew's view on this. Like, I think anyone can really do whatever they want in terms of covering or reviewing movies. And if you're like, I don't want to support that movie, that's fine. And even if that viewpoint is incoherent, that's fine. Like, I'm being totally genuine. Here's the thing that people don't recognize, right? That we, right, on the Slash Filmcast have come to recognize. People have internal contradictions. People are not always consistent. Right? And sometimes you might have a feeling like, oh, I don't want to support this movie because you don't want to support this movie, right? And you might not have a consistent worldview that supports that, but that's the way human beings are. And, people have come back to us all the time with Dave Chen. You didn't like The Dark Knight. You like The Mummy Return. Like, they don't understand. Like, it's not about like having like, oh, I will always like X type of movie. Sometimes I may not. And that's the way human beings are. I think I don't remember who wrote it, but someone was saying how like if Dave Chen was a movie, it would be full of plot inconsistencies on the slash film boards. And I agree.
I think most people would be that way.
Exactly.
Sure. Yeah.
That's the thing. Most people would be that way. And so I totally respect Drew's decision to do whatever he wants with regards to Ender's Game. I will say we will cover the movie on the Slash Filmcast and at slashfilm.com. And because for the reasons that you guys have stated. I mean, ultimately, are we then saying we don't want to do anything that will financially benefit people who disagree, who we have disagreements with? Like, Tom Cruise is a huge supporter of Scientology. I might think that Scientology has wrought misery and suffering to countless of individuals out there. I'm not saying I do, Scientologists. I'm not saying I do. I'm just saying.
I can say that.
I'm just saying.
I think it's a cult. I think it's terrible.
But
I enjoy watching him in movies.
That's right. Let's say I think that. Does that mean I shouldn't watch Mission Impossible 4? You know what I mean? Should I never watch Braveheart again? I mean, that one actually, maybe I do agree.
Well, and that argument has no end, right?
Right.
It's like, should I be researching every single person, the key grip on, this movie because this guy happened to be, at a playground and hit a kid or something? Like, you can just go as far as you want with this
that
argument.
got dark really fast.
Well, my point being, there's no logical end to this. And the people are complex, and there are bad people, and there are people who have views that you find repugnant, and they're going to be out there. But you do your thing. And honestly, we sort of owe Orson Scott Card a little bit to get this back in the news. Like, the more we can talk about this issue and the more we can advocate for our side, the better. You know what I mean? So in that sense, having people out there who are still, stone cold Stone Agers is helpful towards progressing human rights.
It's fine. I mean, the bigger problem with me is that the guy is a genius. You read Ender's Game, you read Speaker for the Dead, you read like anything in that series, and it's amazing. They're some of the best science fiction books ever made. And yet, that genius is being applied to being, a harsh bigot in real life. And I think it just makes me sad. That's the biggest issue for me.
Yeah, and I'm fine with dismissing him, but I'd love the conversation to go on, and I'd love the art to be a separate thing,
All right. Well, that's what's been going on in the film news this week. Let us know what you think. Are you going to? Are you guys going to see Ender's Game? I mean, do you feel like Orson Scott Card's views are going to get in your way of enjoying the movie? Let us know at slashfilmcast@gmail.com. Let's move on, guys, into our review of Pacific Rim.
Nobody can tell us where they came from or what they are.
We always thought alien life would come from the stars, but it came from deep beneath the sea, a portal between dimensions in the Pacific Ocean. Something out there had discovered us. They counted on the humans to hide, to give up, to fail.
Initiating launch operations. Gypsy danger.
They never considered our ability to stand, to endure, that we would rise to the challenge.
Pilots ready to connect.
Let's go fishing.
2 pilots engaged in neural bridge. Ready to activate the Jaeger in 3, 2, 1.
That was from the trailer of Pacific Rim, the newest film by director Guillermo del Toro. It's out in theaters everywhere. It stars Charlie Hunnam, Idris Elba, Rinko Kikuchi, Charlie Day, and Bern Gorman, amongst others. A kind of international cast going on there. This is a Slash Filmcast, the official podcast of slashfilm.com. Got a few emails about Pacific Rim in advance of us reviewing the film, and I'm going to read one of them right here. Luke from Santa Ana, California writes in, "Hey Slash Filmcast, I just saw Pacific Rim and frickin' loved it, but it makes me sad to think that when you review it, Adam Quigley will not be joining you. This is a movie that was made for Adam, and I would love to hear him on the episode with you guys. Do you think that you might be able to convince him to return as a guest?" Well, today I'm pleased to announce Adam Quigley is back on the podcast for our review of Pacific Rim. Adam, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing all right. Why wouldn't I be here?
Well, Adam, some people have noticed that you have been absent for the last couple of months.
That is comedy.
So yeah, what's up with that?
Oh, well, you guys must be in that other timeline.
I see. We were in the timeline where you were not there, but in your timeline,
That sounds like the darkest timeline in my.
that was
Was Man of Steel good in your timeline? That's all I'm wondering.
Well, in my timeline, I defended the hell out of Man of Steel.
I see. Well, we'll talk more about what's going on, Adam, with you after the review. But in the meantime, let's get into this review of Pacific Rim. Adam, this is a movie you've been looking forward to for months and months. You finally saw it. So did it live up to your unrealistic expectations?
Well, they weren't unrealistic because I knew what it was about, and it's Guillermo del Toro, and he delivered exactly what I wanted from it.
I see. And what is that, Adam? What did he deliver?
He understands the basic tenets of like what makes a blockbuster like this good. I've repeatedly said on the podcast, like Jurassic Park's probably my all-time favorite movie, or at least the one I sort of go to if people ask me. And he understands how to deliver the spectacular. He understands wonder. He understands terror. He understands how to combine all of them together. I think like one of the things that I love so much about the film can be summed up within like the first 5 minutes, which is just usually in movies like this, you have like the exposition dump at the beginning of the film where basically a lot of filmmakers just seem like they're trying to rush through it. It's like, oh, here's all the information you need because otherwise the movie just won't make any fucking sense. And Guillermo del Toro takes this opportunity, or also Travis Beacham as the writer, or co-writer, they both wrote the film, to actually set up the world in a way that makes you really interested and invested in what's going on. Like I wanted to actually see more. I was like, I would have been happy if that was 15 minutes long because it gives you this really well-rounded view of everything. It gives you it also takes a cool opportunity. It's like, oh, here's some cool news footage. Here's a lot of like, they even play with like found footage because obviously people would be recording as this shit went down. And then it also gives you this like full extended look at here's how like pop culture has been affected as well. Like, oh, the Jaeger pilots became like celebrities and stuff like that. So I just really thought like from the onset, the way the movie frames everything already had me engaged, already had me invested. And from there, I think it just sort of handled all of those beats exactly right. Especially just like getting you engaged in the action, which is like the most important thing. Get you emotionally invested with the characters. That's like, I don't know, I feel like the essential rule of like blockbuster filmmaking, and right now it seems like so many filmmakers are only focused on like, oh, well, how do I get to the cool moments? And Guillermo del Toro understands that you need to do more than that.
And I will say this, Charlie Hunnam, I actually really like his narration voice.
Yeah.
Like his voiceover voice. I'm a big fan. It's very kind of, the kaiju made, landfall at Cabo. And I kind of like how he, it just sounded very appealing to me. I'll say
he's
that.
young, but he's still got that grizzled vibe.
Yeah, it sounds like he's been like chain smoking for like 10 years. And it sounds good.
It's all Sons of Anarchy's fault, yeah.
Now, Laramie Legal. What to say about Laramie Legal? Okay, let me say this. I was talking with Peter Serena from /film.com yesterday, and here's something I want to bring up for those of you who are listening who may not know this. I wrote a piece called 5 Ways Pacific Rim Succeeds Where Other Summer Blockbusters Have Failed. And I basically listed 5 things I thought Pacific Rim did really well, and how other summer blockbusters, like Pacific Rim, in my opinion, was so good that it actually made other films look bad by comparison. Like, they actually worsened in my mind as a result of watching Pacific Rim. Yeah. And then, Laramie, you wrote a piece at Laramie.com, and the name of this piece was, what was it, Laramie? You wanna give us
the
the title?
10 most egregiously stupid parts of Pacific Rim, I think.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Something like that. And it was hilarious because not only were our pieces like totally opposite in terms of tone, but that we actually brought up the same exact points, like specific like story points that I thought were great and you thought were terrible. But Peter said, I think one of these articles is a parody of the other one, but I can't figure out which one is which.
Well, mine posted first, in my defense.
Well, I mean, I wrote mine on Tuesday or Wednesday of this week.
Yeah, check the timestamps, guys.
Yeah, check the timestamps.
By the way, the people at Laramie.com, slave drivers, I have to tell you, just always assigning me stuff. That piece took me about 6 hours, by the way.
Wow.
And just a nightmare. And at some point I looked up and I'm like, what is happening? What's going on with my life? Like, that I need to write this?
Yeah, I mean, you really should question your life decisions for more reasons than one. if you're writing a piece.
4,000 words of just pure hate towards this film because I felt like we needed to draw a line in the sand. And I didn't know your piece was coming, and you didn't know my piece was coming when you were writing them, obviously. But yeah, I mean, I think that's probably a fundamental thing in debate where the strengths are the weaknesses for one person and the weaknesses are the strengths. Do you want me to give my initial thoughts on the film?
Let's do it. Let's do it. I mean, however, I don't want to go through this I don't want to go through this preposterous list point by point. But I will say, feel free to share your general thoughts.
Well, I hope Peter actually read it because that would be nice that folks are actually taking it in, even if they disagree. Because I read the stuff I disagree with all the time, and I'm happy to engage. So the things I liked, we'll start with because that's about a 45-second list, so we can just bang that out. I would say good to very good visuals. I thought the production values were pretty solid. I thought Del Toro still has a very good sense of pacing in his action scenes, and it's a little muddy with the darkness and the water and the rain at all times, but I thought the production values and the colors and all that were pretty solid. I like to love the cast that was used here. Elba, Kikuchi, Charlie Day are also my favorite actors. I was really happy when I saw they were going to be involved, and although they massively let me down, I think the cast is very good. I also think the premise has a pretty significant amount of potential, and maybe sequels have an amount of potential because of that. I don't think Robots versus Monsters is, on the face of it, not doable. I think this is a makeable film. I think could possibly give you a good film. It's just not. And that leads me to the non-spoiler reasons that it's not a good movie. Just to start with Adam's first point, how he liked the initial start. For me, starting with that voiceover is a filmmaker's way of saying, I can't show you, so I'm just going to tell you. And I thought it was an exposition dump, actually. And I understand why they needed to set up the world. But for me, a voiceover is the technique a writer goes to when he's decided not to actually tell the story. So I didn't like that. I thought action...
Wait, can I respond to that specific point?
Sure.
Well, I think what's important to recognize about Pacific Rim is that it's not starting off with this thing happening. This is taking place in the world after a lot of this went down, and this is this is our last defense after all these developments have already taken place. So you kind of do have to establish a lot of that information, and normally I feel like we just get a text crawl or something,
right?
So I think that's kind of, it's hard to fault the film for already wanting to deal with an established mythology within its world.
Well, it's obviously not hard to fault the film because Larry just did it. But is it reasonable? Is the question.
Luckily, I have many other established faults as well. So
all right.
I thought the action was mostly devoid of tension because the characters, most of them were about 4 seconds of exposition or getting to know them. Very, very sketch portraits of Chinese fighters and Russian fighters, and kind of the most obvious way to do that particular caricature. Little kid mashing up toys has been used in a lot of different reviews and a lot of different places. I think that's absolutely correct. It's a sandbox style movie where kids bang things together. I thought it was relatively bankrupt in the currency of new ideas, an amalgamation of every film that's come prior to it. And I get why people are having fun with it. I could totally understand that. I didn't, but I understand being entertained at the spectacle and having fun with the film itself because it does have a baseline sense of happiness to it. But the problem is it's not a good film. I mean, you can have fun all you like, but let's not call this good. You can eat all the chocolate M&Ms you want, but let's not call them sustenance. That's kind of where my problem's coming down. And a lot of the comparisons to this film are absolutely hyperbolic and ridiculous. And I think you probably know the ones I'm talking about.
Wait, so you don't think this movie is the Citizen Kane of kaiju movies?
I don't think it's the Star Wars of our time. I'll say that. I don't think it had an emotional connection. And the last thing I really would like to hammer home is the acting here, to me, is right about a degree away from deplorable. I think there was no time these people were trying to tell a story, and through every single scene, people are hamming it up and saying, I'm in an action movie, this is an action movie, let me be in an action movie, as opposed to believing the characters they had, because there were no characters. So all these are really, really stereotypical, really shallow takes on these characters, and the most egregious example of this is the Charlie Day and the scientist characters, which are not at all real-world characters and completely preposterous and basically a joke. Even though they're meant as a joke, it's still a bad joke. So there you go.
All right. Well, Devindra Hardawar.
Well, you know what? Actually, Laramie, I read your piece this week while I was on a plane flying back from San Francisco. And it's funny how, just immediately, every single one of your points, I felt like I could just refute. But before we get there, because I feel like we do need to get there so badly, I just want to say up front, for a long time, guys, like long have I dreamed about a giant robot movie that actually, worked. That was, that had a big budget to support its ideals, that had a great director behind it to kind of show us something new and just do something fun with it. Actually, in a weird way, I think the first Transformers is probably the closest we've gotten in America for something like this. That movie has its problems, and I definitely just don't really care for any of the other Transformers movies, but I love the first one because, you get the sense of scale of the action, the robots looked good, and there were characters that you cared about. So yeah, with this one, I think, I don't know, I completely love Pacific Rim. It's exactly what I've always wanted in sort of a giant robot movie, especially with somebody like Guillermo del Toro behind it. This guy loves anime, which is clear, and definitely clear from some of the other stuff. He loves, kaiju films in general. And it shows. Like, there's a passion to this movie that I think is just all too rare. Say what you will about it, Laramie. Like, I can understand. I can understand why you feel the way about the dialogue of the characters or whatever. Even though I think it's batshit insane, but I do think the world is a better place for somebody like Guillermo del Toro to have like $200 million to just play with something that he's dreamed about forever. Because there's just a ton of imagination in this film.
And I don't know kaiju world at all, and I don't know anime anything more than, being able to point it out in a comic book. So, I mean, I'm clearly not the target market for this. I would just say that I've also dreamed of movies like this, but in my dream, they had coherent plot and good dialogue and good
well, Laramie, I understand what you're saying. I think you're also crazy. But, yeah.
I haven't called you crazy, but that's okay. It's all right.
Laramie, I will say, I actually, I respect all of your criticisms a lot more than, some of the reviews I've read, which is yeah, it's big and it's spectacular, but isn't it really noisy? Isn't it so noisy? It's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't expect that, sort of a small, intimate scale drama surrounding my giant robot versus giant monster movie.
Indeed.
Yeah, it's not going to be that, clearly. Yeah.
But some of your points, Laramie, well, we'll get there. So I just wanted to say, I love the characters. I kind of love the vision of this movie. I actually love the action because this is a movie that really shows you how to escalate set pieces. We've seen a lot of films this year and just a lot of action films in general. They maybe give us too much early on or they don't quite build things up. For me, every battle in this movie was interesting. It kind of showed us something new, and also it told us something about the characters. That's what you want from an action movie. You want something that tells you the story through action. Even that opening narration, which is, voiceover is right at the beginning, kind of clunky, maybe not the best thing, but while you're listening to this, it's showing you things too, right? It's showing and telling at the same time. And I love that a movie like this can paint in broad strokes because really, I'm tired of origin stories, guys. I'm tired of movies where the entire point is to just set up the story and, hey, maybe we'll have a sequel and we can give you a real story and real characters and real conflict. This movie gives you all of that in 15 minutes, like, hey, we're kind of fucked. Giant monsters. We built these things, and it shows you how the world is reacting to it. And, after that, the movie itself can focus on the last days. This is humanity just trying to, this is kind of their last chance. I love stories like this, and I love the idea that, this movie is just very... It's very cohesive. It's one big idea and actually has an ending that matters, which, oh man, I'm just tired of origin stories. We've seen them far too often lately.
You know what? Credit given for starting with momentum. I'll give you that. And credit given for not doing all this huge backstory. I absolutely give you that because I don't think it can be done very effectively anymore after it's been done perfectly by Christopher Nolan. Not credit given for your idea of character exposition being that they love Dance Dance Revolution. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay. All right. So, go ahead, Adam. Go ahead, Adam. Go ahead.
Well, it's just the coolest thing about the movie is the thing that you're dismissing with Dance Dance Revolution.
Yeah, exactly.
To me, when I started watching this film, what I was going in for was okay, yeah, giant robots versus giant monsters. But then when I walked away from it, it's neural handshake. That was my big takeaway, and it's what made the movie so fucking cool, which is that it provides you so much, I don't know, emotional understanding, connecting these basically three characters, if you want to look at it that way.
Sure.
Because, and I think even Cronenberg would be jealous of this, but the way that technology is an extension of the people in this film is, I think, really interesting. Because, for example, a robot gets its arm ripped off, the characters feel it. And then and then you have to add on to that these two characters that essentially need to support this one machine, and they need to become sort of an extension of themselves as well. They have to share their memories, share everything they've ever felt. I thought that was so cool and such an interesting framing of the action. So like to dismiss it as Dance Dance Revolution, it's just frustrating.
Yeah. It shows like Laramie, like not to just be too hard on you, but I don't know, like to a certain degree, it feels like you were unwilling to drift with this movie.
Well, I mean, the problem is all these ideas have been done before. I mean, this is Matrix.
Oh my God.
Inception.
We've never seen this before.
Yeah,
Dude,
we
Inception itself cribbed so much from Existenz.
Sure,
Existenz
but they don't-
cribbed so much from so many. Like, how far are we going to go back here?
They don't show any of the things you're talking about. You may have felt them, but the idea of this memory thing is about a 4-second clip, except for the one clip where it's egregiously melodramatic and stupid. Like the idea that I have to share the idea that I have to share someone's memory is profound and is interesting. And how they show that is a 2-second black and white clip, and then people making stupid decisions. So
it has no impact on the rest of the movie. Like, I can't really get into specifics without spoilers, but Laramie,
Sorry. I was going to say, like, it informs all the characters' decisions throughout the film. It's like it's dealt with repeatedly.
It's the core conflict. It is the core thing that even Charlie Hunnam's character has to deal with to kind of grow in the film. Like it's essential. They maybe give you they tell you what it is in 5 or 10 seconds, but it's an essential part of what the movie is. And what they're trying to.
We should get to Dave in a second, but this guy, I mean, with the main character, what? Good Lord. Well, I mean, it's Top Gun, except not as complex.
Okay, all right. That's enough for now, Laramie. That is enough for now. I will say I agree with everything that Devindra and Adam are saying, especially about the drifting and everything. Like, I do think they came pretty close to maxing out they maxed out what they were able to ask of the audience, right? Because giant monsters, that's one thing. They're from another dimension, and then by the way, we built these gigantic robots, and by the way, we need to one person can't handle the neural load of controlling a robot that big. I don't really know how that makes sense, but whatever, they figured it out.
I love that there's even an explanation for it.
Right, yeah. It was very cool. The way they did it was very cool.
It doesn't make sense. You can go on with your point.
Yeah, sure. Okay, you're right, Laramie. I mean, compared to our real life.
But I give them that. I don't mind that. I don't disbelieve that.
Okay. So I actually, but they asked the audience to believe a lot of stuff, but I think they pulled it off. I mean, this neural load thing. It's about as well executed as the thing that allows you to hack into someone's dreams in Inception, and no one really, you just kind of just accept it. And the fact that the movie was able to get you to accept that as a premise, I thought was a pretty big achievement. And I mean, one of the things I love the most about this film, I mean, I absolutely love this movie. One of the things I love the most is how the seamless blend between what's going on inside the Jaegers and kind of what's going on outside. Mm-hmm. In movies like this, even in Star Trek, any Star Trek movie you see, everything that's going on in the bridge always feels strangely disconnected with what's happening on the outside.
Because it is. Yeah,
because it is. I mean, because obviously it's a set and the outside is all the CGI. But in this movie, they were actually when a robot reaches in and punctures the cockpit, you see them puncturing the cockpit in the inside. And the way they're able to connect those two disparate settings, I thought was really genius. Mm-hmm. I think Laramie has some points in the sense that he has there's germs of valid points in what Laramie is saying, in the sense that the movie does paint with broad brushstrokes. I mean, it does employ every single action movie cliche known to man. And I would say there's a very fine line between a movie like Pacific Rim and a movie like 2012. You know what I mean? Or a movie like Independence Day. And actually, Independence Day, that's a movie that really came to mind when I saw this movie.
Sure.
It's a movie that is really ridiculous, but that has these really memorable characters with fairly simplistic motivations. But that if you are willing to kind of go along for the ride. Go ahead.
This is my point. Simplistic motivations. It's not a good film. You were entertained by it. You thought it was a spectacle. You thought it was cool the way they did it. But you're almost admitting it wasn't a good movie with the things you're saying. You're just not getting there logically.
You can't just keep saying it's not a good movie. That does not make it true.
Hold on.
You can't. I mean, you can't keep saying that he totally proved all his points, and the fact that he had simpleton characters is fine. I'm okay with that.
Hold on. So with regards to Independence Day, I mean, I will say this, Laramie. I will say that you're saying it's a mark against the movie that it has simplistic characters, and I would say that's probably right. But I would say at least the characters have motivations, right? Unlike pretty much any other blockbuster we've seen this summer, or many of the blockbusters we've seen this summer.
Yeah.
Which have equally, if not less equally, simplistic motivations, but are executed far poorly than in this film.
I would say overall it's been a bad season. I think you're right on that. I would echo that. I think Man of Steel was a much more ambitious film than this for the reason that it painted Superman as against us in a lot of ways. And I thought that was an interesting premise. Would humanity accept a hero on that level? And I thought that was a really interesting premise. They didn't really execute it because they do the face punching thing over and over, just like this movie does. But it was at least a complex idea as opposed to there really aren't complex ideas in this. But
well, I want to go back to what Devindra was saying, which is that unlike with other movies we've seen this summer, including Man of Steel, like every single battle in this movie served a purpose for character development. And you know, people compare like The Matrix to The Matrix Reloaded, and the difference between The Matrix and The Matrix Reloaded is every fight scene had a purpose in The Matrix. And I feel, whereas that's not the case for Matrix Reloaded, and I feel like that's the case here as well. Like Man of Steel versus this movie, you know, not only were the fight scenes like far more purposeful in this film, but actually the fact that you're dealing with biological creatures and robots helps you to show like battle progression in a way that Man of Steel did not. You have two gods wailing on each other for 10 minutes, and it just doesn't feel the same. Now, I know this is going to provoke Adam Quigley, but my point being, but like, I really liked how the battles progressed in this film. I really felt like there's momentum. Like, it wasn't just two creatures smashing at each other for 10 minutes. It was like, wow, this creature's doing damage, this creature's doing damage. I genuinely don't know which one which one's going to survive. And the movie shows you early on that it's willing to take chances. Like, it's willing to not conform to what you're going to expect from a movie in terms of what it's going to do with its characters and which characters are going to do well and succeed in this movie.
If one seeds that each of the battles had a place in the story, will you at least see that they were all really manipulative and forced? Like, these battles happen because of characters' non-logical decisions. Like, if you're not building a character and he's also doing dumb things, like, haven't you kind of lost the audience?
I don't see where the dumb
people do dumb things all the time in real life, and we still sympathize with them.
Yeah, but like, I saw your points, Laramie, like from your article. I think specifically you were wondering why a lot of people kept not following orders.
No one follows orders. Yeah.
I guess it really bugged you, but you know, every movie ever made, every fucking movie ever made, there's no conflict if everybody just sits there and follows orders.
Well, no,
that's kind of the essential tension of the film.
I think you go to that well once, absolutely. What you don't do is go to it 6 times, and you don't do it the exact same way you did 30 minutes prior. Like, that's lazy storytelling.
I mean, have you seen every Bond film ever made, for example?
I've seen probably a dozen of them.
You know what I mean? Like, are you a fan of Bond? Because I hate to break this to you, but Bond often does not follow orders, and that's actually what a lot of people enjoy about those films, right?
Yeah, and well, the reason you have characters do that is because it's not interesting to just see people doing what other people want them to do. You want to see them have their own agency. You want to see them taking situations into their own hands.
Okay, why not break orders that actually help the story then, as opposed to I just need to be in a battle now, thus I'm going to break this order. That's how they treat it in this film. They don't treat it like he's going for the greater good. They treat it actually like he's going for the lesser good. Like, it doesn't make any sense, the things that the choice the character is making given the context of the reality the film is trying to portray.
Can we
what you're saying, the way you're framing that, it's like, oh, he potentially, there is that conflict of like, oh, he's potentially risking the lives of so many millions of people by doing this, but he cares enough about these few individuals that he's willing to take that chance.
I honestly think he might have crayons in there with him in the booth. Like, I'm really worried about him. Like, I'm legitimately concerned for him.
All right.
You know, like, I think your perspective, like, I don't agree with it, but I think your perspective is valid in that, like, you're coming from this from a very, very different place. You don't like that this movie approaches its characters, a lot of its ideas, and it obviously, I mean, like, I think it's sort of an inherent in the summer blockbuster is that it can only give them the superficial treatment. Maybe a sequel can delve into them more,
sure.
But it's like, I don't think we have enough time, even at the 2 hours that we have with this film, to delve deeper, right? Like, I think like the movie touches on everything to the extent that it can and needs to in order to get us invested when all the cool stuff happens, which is actually what people are going to see. That's what they want. That's what they put in the trailers. That's what people are paying for.
As I've said, I'm happy when anyone likes this film. I'm happy when people spend their money and time on something they like. It doesn't bother me in the least that you three enjoyed the film. What bothers me is we could do better. We could do better on summer blockbusters than we're doing. And the fact that we're rewarding one for being a composite of a summer blockbuster truly does disturb me.
I think you're discounting why exactly we're liking the movie, Laramie. But there are a lot of things that we can't really attack or really talk about without actually going into spoilers. Yeah, but I will say, like, there are a couple things that I actually want to bring up that I do have certain issues with this film too, Laramie. Like, I don't think you're alone out there for seeing negative things. This movie cribs a lot from Neon Genesis Evangelion, a classic anime series from the mid-90s. Quite a bit of it, actually. Like, the sense of scale, some of the key conflict. There's a point where a character is, like, fighting their inner demons, and that's actually taken exactly from an episode of Neon Genesis Evangelion. So there's a lot that it's definitely cribbing from. I think it does kind of... I think it grabs some of the best imagery and works with some other source material pretty well.
But I grew up with Voltron as well, and I saw a lot of Voltron in this. Well, and I love Voltron. Like, I'm not knocking Voltron, but the whole monsters robots thing is a very big Voltron theme.
This goes back way back when there was I forget the name of it, but there was a comic in the 70s that really kicked this whole thing off after Astro Boy and all that stuff. But the real thing for me is that, a lot of these monster movies, and especially the original Godzilla, had a ton of subtext. It was actually about something greater than, a monster destroying a city, even though it was also about that. This movie doesn't really have any subtext. I'll admit that. But you know what? The text itself is just so goddamn awesome that I barely even noticed. It was perfectly fine for me. It's maybe not a very meaningful film that you can really, read something into in terms of what geopolitics or some sort of messaging. But on the other hand, I am so tired of everybody trying to wrap in terrorism subtext or 9/11 imagery. We saw that several times this summer, and the subtext doesn't mean anything. It's just useless if it doesn't mean anything. It just feels like you're trying to be smart. Whereas this one, it seems like Guillermo del Toro is just trying to have fun, and I honestly just appreciate that. It's just all too rare these days.
I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong necessarily with trying to call back to things that in the real world that people can identify with. But sometimes when you're just going to see, you just want some nice escapism. You just want to be taken away to a world that isn't your own. And you do want to just indulge the silly and the absurd. I think this film delivers that in a way that is actually, it's smarter than it initially lets on. Like, it has actually some clever ideas in there, and that's what it uses to hook you.
If you guys will admit silly, absurd, and illogical, then I think we're on the same page. Basically.
I do, but I think the way we're approaching is very different. I don't know. I found a lot to like about that. I saw a lot of people dismissing this movie as just dumb, and that's one thing that I will freaking defend, because it's like this, it may be very straightforward, it may not be convoluted like all the other blockbusters we've had this year, because my god, what the hell happened in Star Trek 2? What was really going on in Man of Steel? There's way too much going on. This movie is so laser focused on what it's trying to do, on like just the core narrative, on the characters, that I just appreciated that.
If you fail at smart ideas, I'm with you. That's absolutely as egregious as not succeeding at doing more than simple ideas. The film does bring up a little subtext that might be important, that I think you guys actually might want to give it credit for, which is the whole environmental angle. I think there's a little bit of that. They don't really do anything with it, but they do hint at it. No.
I want to point out Tasha Robinson at the newly launched site, The Dissolve, thedissolve.com, wrote a pretty great piece called "In a Summer Filled with Films Exploiting 9/11 Imagery, Pacific Rim Follows a Different Path." She kind of talks about how Pacific Rim doesn't feel like it's, exploiting 9/11 imagery. I mean, there are cities being destroyed, but she writes here, I'm just going to list off the points. I'm not going to read the whole essay. Pacific Rim makes the problem global. It at least tries to be about something besides vengeance or punishment. It finds its iconography further in the past, and it acknowledges the weight of tragedy and doesn't take mass death and destruction lightly. Like, those are the decisions that the filmmakers made that kind of made it feel less cheap, to invoke 9/11 imagery. I mean, You literally have movies this summer where entire cities are destroyed, and that is never mentioned. Like,
and that's a nightmare. That's a nightmare.
You know what I mean? So that does not happen in this movie, and that's kind of refreshing. It's sad that it's kind of refreshing, but it is refreshing to see.
Yeah.
Let me say one thing I do agree with you about, Laramie. One of the 10 things, which is that I did
10%.
I did find the scientists to be a little bit grating. I felt like I was supposed to enjoy that more than I actually did enjoy that whole subplot.
It was so precious and so cutesy.
Let's talk briefly about race in this movie, because that was one of your complaints. Yay for ethnic stereotypes, you write.
Yeah.
The Chinese fighting team wears all red, uses martial arts, and has smooth-looking technology. The Russian wears gray. The Russian team wears gray, has the heaviest Jaeger, and says things like "we crush" a lot. The Australian team features roughneck attitudes and a father-son dispute.
How is that an ethnic stereotype?
The American team leader, Raleigh, doesn't play by the rules. He's an individual.
That's an American stereotype.
But it's his apparent lack of discipline. Okay, let me say this. Let me say a couple things. First of all, I will acknowledge that we did get an email from a listener who was a little bit miffed that I believe they did not actually use Australian actors to play the Australians in this film.
Yeah,
so
it's a British guy and an American guy, I think.
So, fair enough. That's a legit beef. But as for using stereotypes, I mean, as a Chinese person, let me say that I think I am well equipped to inform you whether I was offended by Pacific Rim.
But
go ahead.
Dave, you know nothing about those characters. You couldn't tell me their names. You couldn't tell me any backstory. You can't tell me anything about those people. They were put on there to be Chinese, and that was their sum goal. Like, you don't find that offensive?
Well, I mean, it doesn't, like, for a movie like this, even the characters' names aren't as important as, like, what they represent in the story and what they did. Like, you remember their Jaeger because it's batshit insane. And when they have that one fight, you're like, oh my god, this is why you have, I'm not going to say exactly what's so special about their Jaeger, but this is why you have those things.
The value of that character is that they're Chinese. Right?
Yeah, and
they don't get lines. They don't get lines or to impact the story.
Well, they get lines, but it's in the Jaeger.
They kind of have a major eventful,
they have a significant part to play. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, the movie is demonstrating that like all these different cultures are represented in terms of like coming together to fight this monstrosity that's attacking the world. It's not just America that's standing up for itself.
Okay. Let me say three things actually. Okay, number one, I would have been offended. Point one, I would have been offended if the Chinese people were played by white people. Okay, so if that had happened, then I would totally agree with you. Okay, I would totally agree with you.
Okay.
Point number two is that what is the alternative? What is the alternative? The alternative is going deep into the subplots of each one of these different, ethnicities, which is probably not feasible in a film of this length. Is the alternative that the Chinese people are just excluded from the plotline altogether to avoid offending Laramie?
No.
Do you know what I mean? Like neither of those alternatives I prefer to what was in the movie. Okay.
The alternative is that the Chinese and Russian teams don't conform to ethnic stereotypes, as I point out. The Russian team doesn't need to be like, I am Russian, Rocky IV, like that is lazy script writing. They can just people. Here's what I think. I think ethnicities are just people. I don't think they necessarily wear the color of their flag and do martial arts if they're from China. I don't know. I bet you there's a lot of Chinese people who don't do martial arts. Call me
well, okay, I'm just wondering though. Like you're saying, you're throwing it away. Basically, is like what they did as like, oh, they were just relying on cheap stereotypes. But the way I viewed it, honestly, was that they were embracing different aspects of the culture so that they were well represented on screen, and people would be able to. There was like each one would be sort of distinctive in their own way, and I thought that was interesting. Even the music, for example, like when the Russian Jaeger team like went out there, like the music changed to actually reflect that culture, and I kind of wish they had done more of that. Like when the team up between American dude and Japanese girl, like if they actually sort of like spun in some Japanese music into that, I would have been totally for it to actually mix the score up.
Okay,
I don't feel like the music is the strength of the film.
I'm feeling less and less comfortable as you talk, Adam, but continue.
Laramie, I will say one thing. In terms of representation of the races, I was only really I thought one was just a little overboard, and that was the Russian one. Because they do look like they're from Rocky IV. They do look a little crazy. It's like you look at them, it's like, oh god, those two are definitely Russian. But at the same time, they also do quite a bit with the ideas. Like, how would, if Russia were to build a giant fucking robot, what would Russia's giant fucking robot look like? And I think it would look a lot like, that thing. Just in terms of the idea And it's the same thing about the Chinese robot too. It's like the fact that it has this extra feature that none of the other robots has. It's like a little bit of ingenuity that I found kind of fun.
Devindra,
I feel like this movie treats all of its culture sort of on an equal plane, though. It's coming from this place of like Power Rangers fun. So like the way it represents like the American culture, I feel like is very consistent with the way it represents other cultures.
With being less racist than Power Rangers too.
Devindra, that argument you just made is a nightmare. Because if you look at a MiG versus an F-15, or you look at a Chinese aircraft carrier versus the USS whatever, George Washington, they're not so dissimilar. People do military stuff.
Are you really tapping to real life military?
People are not colors of red and babushka. Like, and an American who doesn't follow orders is a rebel individual. Man, I haven't seen that in about 10 days. Like, what are you talking about?
Let me say,
it's the American who didn't follow orders. By the way, the Australians didn't really follow orders.
Well, the Australians are rough and tumble.
Here's my point three. Here's my point three. Okay, stereotypes are not always bad. I'm gonna put that out there. Just let that sit and ferment for a little bit. Okay, I remember when I was taking media classes, back when I was getting my degree, that we brought up the point that not like stereotypes are not always necessarily bad. Sometimes, like quite often, they are bad, and occasionally they are horrifyingly bad. That is very true, but they're not always bad. I'm not saying this movie didn't use stereotypes bad. But I'm saying like as a concept, using stereotypes is not bad. Let me give you an example. So when people are like developing children's shows, you know what I mean? And they want to communicate and it's like an animated character. And they want to communicate like, is this a male or a female character, right? Sometimes it's challenging. Like it's not always immediately obvious which gender a Muppet is or which gender a cartoon character is. And by using stereotypes, sometimes you can very easily communicate that to the audience. Like if you have someone bounce a ball or like play baseball or something or wear a skirt. Do you know what I mean? Like those are stereotypes we have that are able to easily communicate concepts in a very efficient manner. So I would say that like I am a little bit more charitable when I look at this film when it comes to stereotypes, just because it didn't feel too over the top to me.
I think the point you're trying to make is that stereotypes can be shorthand, right?
Correct.
But a storyteller needs to tell a story, and if you only write in shorthand, that's more of a post-it note than a story. So in this case, I think these tropes really are leaned on so that we don't have to tell the story.
Isn't a story made up of many post-it notes? Like,
yeah,
if you break down any element of this movie,
but some of those post-it notes should have something to do with the other post-it notes.
Well, we're getting really into this post-it analogy.
Indeed. But this is something I also brought up during the Lone Ranger thing because I did not hate it as much as everybody else. And it's the idea that, minority representation is a really tough thing in media, and there is sometimes the idea too that even if you show any ethnic group, there will be some problematic people will have an issue with that. Honestly, personally, the bigger problem for me is not having them at the table at all. Yeah. So I like that they were there. Yes, it's somewhat stereotypical, but for the shorthand of this particular story, I think it worked pretty well.
I mean, I think a movie that did this really well is actually Danny Boyle's Sunshine, which takes place in the future, and like the cast is like all international, and there's Chinese people and Japanese people, but they're not like I am Chinese, hear me roar. Do you know what I mean? Like. Yeah, they're all scientists. They're all like, they don't conform to any sort of stereotypes. I think that's kind of like the ideal, and I think this is kind of like partway there. It honestly, it didn't offend me.
But Sunshine is such a different movie than this.
No,
Sunshine is the mature film for adults, like that are going to see like smart sci-fi. Like it actually does have a lot of like really complex intellectual themes that kids like would just be like, what the fuck am I watching? Like, I don't understand.
Wait, you know what stereotype doesn't exist? Wacky scientists. Have you guys met scientists? They are not at all wacky. They're really normal, sober people.
Okay, look, but we already addressed that point. We Larry.
We didn't talk about that.
I think the like complaint that it's like, oh, there are wacky scientists in this, it's like that to me feels like a non-issue because it's supposed to be this fun popcorn film. So like, why is that a problem? My bigger concern in that, and this is all subjective. I was with an audience that was laughing consistently throughout the film. but I thought a lot of the film's comedic relief felt really kind of cringy, honestly. Except whenever it was relying on characters having to be funny, I thought it was kind of awkward and uncomfortable, and I didn't laugh very much. But when it relied on like sight gags, for example, like at one point Newton's cradle comes into the mix.
Yes.
I thought that stuff was like I wanted to stand up and applaud. That I think that I'm assuming that was all Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah. That was amazing. That was amazing.
Him having fun with it. Like I'll say this about The Scientist, like that. Like any comedy like that's really up to you. Does Charlie Day's overly shouty performance in anything annoy you? You know, if it does.
No, I love Charlie Day. He just has no place in this movie. Like, I really enjoy Charlie Day as a human.
I actually enjoyed him better in, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and always actually in Horrible Bosses than I did in this film.
I actually don't watch, like, I don't watch Always Sunny, and I find him really annoying in that show. I actually really enjoyed his performance here. So, we can have differing opinions around this stuff, and I can see why. I'll say this, Laramie, though, like, you don't know enough scientists if you have not met truly wacky scientists. They're insane! Ridiculously insane people.
They might be bipolar, but they're not running around like, like that doesn't happen.
All right. Well, anyway, I think you're using some stereotypes now, Laramie.
Indeed.
But in any case,
Well, the problem is there's no human who runs around like that. It's not even a scientist. There's just no human. That's not a real person.
I want to throw a shout out for the other wacky scientist, Bern Gorman, who was he's been in Torchwood. He's been in a lot of things. Like, recently, he's just been cast as like creepy dude. Like, he was in The Hours recently. I thought he was a lot of fun as this like foppish British scientist. And I don't know, I liked their relationship. I think Guillermo del Toro, when it comes to doing comedy and things like this, he can be really damn cheesy. That's just his sensibility. And I've recognized it at this point. It's fine. Doesn't always work. But at least for me, these scientists work well in the film. Yeah.
I tell you one thing I would take is a prequel to how these guys got together in the first place. Like, that would be amazing. A buddy wacky scientist film, because I have no idea why they're in the same room.
Who knows? Like, it sounds like isn't there word that they're already working on the sequel and they have some crazy ideas for it already? So who knows? We may end up seeing that.
I know that's something that Laramie really wants. So
we'll talk about it.
Fingers crossed for you, Laramie. So I want to point out just a couple of other quick things before we move into spoilers. And of course, so I think score was pretty solid by Ramin Djawadi, who does the.
Guys.
I'm sorry, what did you say, Devindra?
I said a real theme.
Oh, an actual theme that you can hum. How about that? Ramin Djawadi, who does the theme for Game of Thrones, which is, obviously one of the best TV themes of all time.
And also working with Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine,
right?
Which I didn't notice until the credits, but then you go back and you think about that theme song, and when that guitar riff comes in, it's like, that is Rage Against the Machine.
Speaking of credits, let me just say I did not stay for the credits and was told afterwards I should have.
Yeah, there's a scene.
So let's talk about that during spoilers, because I actually want to hear what that was about. But I want to say I want to just put another shout out in, to echo Adam quickly about the world building. Just really incredible world building. I mean, the idea that there's like a religion that's sprung up around the kaiju, the set design, and how you find out later on in the movie that like some people harvest kaiju parts, right? And the way like the set is designed around that fact is really remarkable. Just the sort of way the whole movie is kind of designed visually.
I give you that. I give you that point. And also, guys, I want to tell you, I didn't hate the score. So there.
All right.
Well, I was all around.
Maybe just like with Pacific Rim, there is a chance for all of us to unite after all.
We'll find it. That's right.
Any other thoughts, guys, before we move? I mean, I'll just say, finally, like, this is my favorite film that I've seen this summer so far. I mean, out of all the movies, like Iron Man 3, frickin' Star Trek, Man of Steel, Fast Six. Like, no film was I more kind of in awe of what I was seeing. And there just feels like there's so much love in this movie. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't feel like this movie is a cash grab. It doesn't feel like this movie is a setup for for a franchise. It just feels like Guillermo del Toro really wanted to tell this story, really wanted to pay tribute to this, like, sort of otaku. Is that the word? Otaku?
Otaku or anime fans, kaiju fans, just big. He's paying tribute to anime. He's paying tribute to kaiju films and so many things. Right,
and there's just a lot of love that I didn't feel in other films. So it's like my favorite film this summer. And Devindra, I think like, the only film we've agreed on like 100% out of all the movies we've seen
in a long time. Well, no, we agreed on Fast Six. I think. I think that was a pretty
we both like Fast Six, but I mean, in a summer that had like The Lone Ranger. And After Earth, Like, guys, you know,
And Oblivion, and like everything.
some
that
of these
just-
movies have been pretty rough. Okay, let's just say some of these movies have been pretty rough, and for a movie to be just like pure joy like this was very refreshing, and I was so happy to see it. So I would say go check it out.
Yeah.
And I think Adam and Devindra would agree with me. I think Laramie would also agree with me. No, I'm just joking.
I don't mind people seeing it. That's fine. And I would agree with you. There are much worse films this year. I'm fine with that. The one really, really, really unfair point I'd like to end with on the non-spoiler section is that Indiana Jones, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, 78% on RT. This 72%. That sounds about right to me. And in 3 years, people will be where I'm at on Pacific Rim.
What?
Totally unfair.
I actually kind of like Crystal Skull, Laramie, so I'm not the.
Oh,
no.
man.
Sorry, dude.
Oh, actually, that hurt me too. You totally destroyed the goodwill of Devindra just now. All right, let's get into. Go ahead.
I want to say a couple things, Dave, because you talked about like the setting and everything. I think the textures of this film is something that we really, should just pay a little attention to, because it's there in every frame. Something is going on, kind of informing you about this world, showing you the state of the world as it is. We're spending the film spent most of its time in Hong Kong in kind of in the Shatter Dome, a warehouse where they have all the giant robots, but we still get a decent sense of what's going on throughout the rest of the world. I thought that was nice. Once we do see Hong Kong, it does look nice. It has its own texture. It feels lived in, and that's great. That's always good to see in science fiction. The other thing is, like, we didn't talk too much about the performances, but a lot of people have been complaining about Charlie Hunnam. I actually liked him. I like his voiceover voice. I thought he was perfectly fine as the lead character. And actually,
but what about that walk? What about that?
What
walk?
about that walk?
That swagger. That swagger he's got.
Oh man. I like so much of his character. I thought he was, he's definitely a cog in a greater machine, and maybe he doesn't have enough time to really show why he's unique and interesting. But I don't know, like the core story, the core conflict that he goes through, which we'll talk about more in spoilers. I thought he did a great job just kind of conveying that. Loved Idris Elba, like a great commanding role for him. Like I love movies that just perfectly cast people that you would envision in these roles. And for somebody like this, the commander of the military, the humanity's last stand. I can see Idris Elba doing that. Loved Rinko Kikuchi. That's pretty much it. And also nice to see Clifton Collins Jr. in here.
And also the actress that plays young Rinko Kikuchi.
Oh man,
pretty amazing.
She was amazing.
She's probably the best actor in the film. that scene was like amazing in my mind. And yes, it was melodramatic and over the top, but like I felt like they handled it perfectly.
Yeah. I tweeted recently that Guillermo del Toro really knows how to put little girls in danger. He's done it quite a bit, like since his early films, since Kronos, even Devil's Backbone, quite a bit. But it there's certainly a way to use it, and that one scene with a little girl being chased.
We gotta get the spoilers.
Okay.
So good.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
And also Pan's Labyrinth. Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah. So many things.
Spoilers for Pacific Rim starting right now.
Now you're looking for the secret.
Gonna see this coming?
No. But you won't find it because, of course,
You're not gonna see this coming.
you're not really looking.
I have been puzzling over how it works.
You don't really want to work it out.
Who's in the box? I have been dying to tell you. I want to tell you my secret now.
You want to be fooled.
Good Lord, on the scene you're talking about.
Really?
Good Lord. Like, women, this is women's roles now in action films. They are so...
Little girl. Okay, I saw your tweet saying
She loves shoes. Oh my God.
Are you
Wow.
that engaged with the movie, Laramie? Like, this is a little girl being chased by a giant fucking monster. Not sure, like, I'm all for seeing great, strong female characters. She is a little girl. She has nothing. All she can do is run and be terrified because her family was fucking murdered by a fucking monster. And it's like, it conveys that completely. That's what it needs to convey.
She be shopping. The only problem is that no other character gets this I'm really weak and need to be saved by men angle. Every other character is very strong, getting it done, making decisions where they're...
General, you're talking about Mako, both as an adult and younger?
The character is a joke, which is sad, because Rinko Kikuchi is really good and a really good actor, as seen in both Babel and Brothers Bloom. Like, I like her. But this,
I feel like what you're saying, like, is proof that like you can't win with depictions of females.
It's proof.
Okay, let me say the other side, which is that oh, they just are showing women through the male gaze. They're not showing that women are actually, they have emotion. They deal with things in a specific way that women do. And she is the only character in the film that you see experiencing the drift for the first time.
Yeah,
Am I mistaken? Do you see any other character? They even acknowledge readily that that's an incredibly troubling experience, especially since she's taking on not just all the memories and experiences of her partner, but also all the experiences and memories of her partner's brother and his death.
You got
she's feeling all of that at once, and then also feeling her own personal trauma and being lost in it. I thought that was incredibly moving and emotional and totally understandable and sympathetic. And I didn't think, oh, haha, she's a woman, she can't handle herself.
How low have our standards gotten that when they tell you a character who's 51 for 51 in simulations, they make that very clear. She's a total badass simulator, which I'm guessing, what was the simulator? It didn't show the emotional memories. It doesn't do anything. What does it do? Is it ping pong? I mean, what is the simulation? That must not do anything. Because she gets in there, and 4 seconds later, she is having a meltdown.
No, dude, you are completely misremembering the movie, though. Let's be clear here. It was Raleigh who had the meltdown first. He's trying to deal with this. He's in the same fucking machine that his brother died in, and he's reliving that trauma. Sure, that triggers the trauma on her side. She didn't just do it randomly. Okay, there's a narrative purpose for this.
Raleigh has a 4-second meltdown, and then saves himself because he's a fella, gets it together, and then needs to save her because he's a fella.
He didn't save her. I don't know what you're talking about, because this whole thing stopped when they cut the power. All he did was grab her from falling at the end. He did not save her.
Oh, yeah.
He was in the memory saying, it's just...
He was in the memory, but she was not...
Yeah, but he wasn't doing anything. He was present. He was seeing it happen, but she was still stuck in it.
He's not interacting with her in the memory, dude.
With all her competence and experience, she managed to melt down. That's what we get.
I completely obliterated your argument, because he does not save her. And even at the beginning, she's a young girl in age. I don't know how she's supposed to handle that situation. Please tell me.
The only person with any weakness in this film or incompetence is a woman. Refute that. Go ahead. I'm ready.
No, it's not true at all, because we see, even in a lot of the characters, we see this. The Australian team, the whole show that the son puts on is because he's weak and kind of scared.
Yeah, those Asian dudes died early on, which happens in a lot of movies.
Dying is not a weakness. Dying is a choice men make for sacrificing. It's a strong choice.
But the whole point is Charlie Hunnam's character. You can debate whether he was effective in conveying this, but Charlie Hunnam's character was really trying to overcome the trauma of his brother's death. So I would argue
was partially responsible for in the decisions he made. The entire opening scene is about establishing that.
Right. So I would argue that is a weakness of his. So, So I don't know. I got to side with Devindra and Adam on this one. Sorry, Laramie, but
you guys need to meet some actual strong women and see if they melt down like that.
Okay.
What? I'll put them in a giant robot and see what happens. But dude, Laramie, you're not conveying. Okay, I can understand. Maybe the simulator didn't properly train her, because that never fucking happens. Because military simulators are exactly like real life. What are you talking about?
I'm just saying, you could have made her an amateur that had to step up to the plate, and then it would make sense within the character. But to portray her as this badass fighter who's every bit the equal to this guy, and then again, you haven't said Idris Elba didn't save her, because he did. He steps out of his giant 50-foot robot, and I guess he zip lines down there to save her. I'm not sure what goes on there, but thank God some man was there to save her.
I just really scraping at the bottom of the barrel here, dude. Seriously, this is
you're making it about gender when it really I don't see it as being about gender. Yeah, I think you're choosing to view it through that lens.
It's only about gender in the sense that action films directed by men over the last 50 years haven't gotten a woman right once. So there you go.
I do think there's some, again, as with all things Laramie is saying, I do think there's some
sure.
Like the thing is, action movies' portrayal of women has been so egregiously bad. Do you know what I mean? That I would argue that this movie does it better. Is it ideal? I can probably agree with Laramie and say that
at that point, I'm wondering what the ideal.
It is not ideal. I can probably argue with
all this stuff happens after a scene where we see Rinko Kikuchi kick serious ass. After Raleigh deals with all the other potential candidates and just destroys them. We have a great fight scene with her kind of holding her own.
Well, for starters, Devindra, the movie does not pass the Bechdel test. I'm not saying that's not. Sure.
Sure.
I'm not saying like that should be the ultimate test, but I'm saying like, I can sympathize with the idea that this movie does not portray women in a way that they might like to be portrayed.
I don't know. We're also not talking about like there is the female Russian pilot as well who has no words. Sure, because the Russians don't. There and being like she's there to be strong.
So let's talk about, to wrap things up. Let's talk about, Laramie, what you think are like silly decisions that you think the characters made.
The absolute worst one is the Wall of Morons, where all the resources for the planet have been placed into building walls that the robots break through in 90 minutes. And no one, like, it's an insane decision within the context of the movie because they get Idris Elba on the phone and they're like, hey, dude, you get no more resources. You have 4 Jaegers left. Good luck with all that. We're building super walls. And these super walls have no hope of working. Also, there's flying one of these. They know these good things are adapting little by little.
We don't know they can fly. We didn't know they can fly until he does in this movie.
Did we know they could get through a wall in 90 minutes?
I don't think they did. That's the whole point of government.
Do you really think the world would put all the resources towards a wall?
Well, also, Laramie, I mean, your point of view. Okay, and I'm being very serious about this. Your point of view implies that governments don't make ridiculously stupid decisions on a daily basis.
They absolutely do. You know what else they do? Overspend on military like crazy.
Yeah, that's true. But we're dealing with a situation like there's a documentary that I saw at Sundance called The Wall. That's about the wall that we tried to build on the Mexican border, which, by the way, is completely ineffectual. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and now we're deploying drones and 30,000 more people, which is what governments do. Overreact offensively, not defensively.
In Mexico?
Right. Yeah.
but
seriously.
But one could take that, Laramie, if you were to read this movie charitably instead of uncharitably like you're reading it, you could take that as a heavy-handed, ham-fisted commentary on the stupidity of worldwide governments. I mean, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think
what it actually is a story technique to get to where I want to be, which is these guys against the world, and it's again manipulative and forced. That's all.
It's no weird, problem. It's sort of like, to a certain degree, we have to give up something to try and engage with the movie. And I'm kind of just becoming increasingly shocked here at like every instance, every little bit the movie gives you. It's like, hey, try this. How about this? How do you like this? You refuse. You say no.
I just pray to God when these kaiju come down, you guys are not in charge of saving us. Because
I'm not saying the wall is a good idea. The whole point is that it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
But the whole point is it's their only bad idea.
Yeah,
that's my point.
That's kind of the point of the film is that they are hopeless at this point. They have put all their money into these giant robots that they're using to fight them, and at this point the monsters just keep getting bigger. Yeah. And even the wall that they're creating, it's like they weren't prepared for the force of an even bigger monster than what they had initially prepared for.
I mean, if this film is a satire, then it's an A+. I'm with you on that. If it's a satire of every summer blockbuster that's come before, then absolutely, it's genius.
Well, I think there are certainly satirical elements for sure.
I just don't think it is. I think it's a genuine, authentic attempt at telling a story.
Yeah. Wait, I don't think.
Yeah, it does not work.
All righty.
I feel like, Laramie, if we were sitting down reviewing Starship Troopers in the 90s...
It is Starship Troopers. It is. That's absolutely the movie it is.
Yeah, but I'm saying I've had arguments with people ever since Starship Troopers came out because I always thought there was something to it, that it's interesting. And now you look at the geeky critic press, and everybody loves Starship Troopers. Oh man, it was so ahead of its time.
Starship Troopers.
Wow.
It comes down to, do you want to see more movies like this? And if you do, we're just not on the same side of the aisle on this one, because this is a ripoff of 100 movies that have come before, and it presents nothing new, and that's my problem with it. I like innovative, complex storytelling, and if I have to fall on that sword, I will.
It's strange, though, because my experience watching the film was like when I was sitting there in the theater, I felt like I was watching something I had never seen before. It's like a movie that I had dreamed about while, like, actually you're talking about Evangelion earlier. It's like, yeah, when I was a kid watching that series, it's like, man, how amazing would it be to get like a giant live action version of this?
And what you gentlemen bring into this with life experiences and hopes for film, I can't possibly hope to refute. And your emotional connection with the film, I can't possibly hope to sever. What I'm pointing out is why it didn't work for me. And you can't, unfortunately, hope to get in my head and make me want a simpler story. I'm just not going to get
drift to you, Laramie. I really wish I could.
We could get it done, and I would probably have a meltdown.
But let me point to one thing. One thing that really cracked me up in your top 10 list of stupid Pacific Rim stuff is the speech. You deconstruct the speech, okay? Elba, you deconstruct it by saying, "Oh, he starts off by walking up to a raised platform, back turned on the crowd, and starts talking. Then he turns to his side, all the while continuing his speech. Finally, he turns to face them. It's bonkers. Really, dude? Really? That's what this has come to? Talking about which direction Idris Elba is facing in the speech, which, okay, maybe it didn't work for you, but, you know, it worked in the trailers. It's just a shame we didn't get to see more, you know, that the scene didn't work as well for me in the movie.
I mean,
but,
I do think the Independence Day comparison holds on virtually every level here. Like,
right.
like it's preposterous, right? That it's like over the top. This speech, the kind of leader in both movies makes an over the top speech. The ending is actually ludicrous in both movies, in my opinion.
Sure.
And you know what I mean? Like hacking into an alien ship using a virus is just the same, in my opinion, as like using flotation buoys to kind of get yourself out of an alternate dimension.
It's easy.
Even after you've already collapsed the...
By the way, he jettisons Rinko Kikuchi. That's pretty nice of him. Saves her.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That's cool. That's cool.
Oh, man.
So
also, I want to say Devindra's madder than I am. I got to say that because it's usually me who's very angry. So
it's more like, Jeremy, like I'm looking at this. I thought I read your article. And, okay, maybe you're having a little fun at it. I actually thought you were being kind of, kind of making fun of the fact that you were making this list with that speech thing. Now I learned you're actually being serious. So yeah,
the speech thing wasn't my best one. All right, I needed 10. Give me a break. But a reflection of art, you want to see yourself reflected in art, or you want to see a betterment of yourself reflected in art. These guys are not people you ever meet. These are storytelling techniques that are tropes because they're easy and lazy. That's the problem I have.
Because we've never used archetypal characters before. Like that's kind of the definition of storytelling.
I don't understand like that criticism though, because it's like a lot of what we consider to be like sort of the best blockbusters, the best summer entertainment. You look at like Star Wars, it's like I don't meet any of those people. Like I don't know why that's
not every movie can be Coffee and Cigarettes or Clerks, unfortunately. You know. But I mean, I agree fundamentally with what Adam is saying. I think we're gonna have a lot of disagreements here. I want to ask Devindra and Adam, how did the ending work for you? I know how it worked for Laramie, so I don't think we need to go into that. But how did it work for you guys? I mean, did the ending work?
I know it's a little out there. I know like the idea of throwing a bomb into another dimension is out there, but I don't know. I like that the movie, at least, it kind of set up why they needed to do this, why it's sort of like the only hope. It's not like, you know, they've tried this before, it's failed, and now there's one way, like with these new monsters coming out, that we may be able to fit a bomb down there. I actually love the fact that we got a little backstory into the kaiju and like why they're doing what they're doing, and I love that we even got a glimpse of that other dimension. This is what I love about Del Toro, is that he goes all the way. Like he doesn't just hint at crazy batshit stuff. He kind of goes there and he shows it to you, and it worked for me. Like I kind of love that.
Let me give you one thing.
He did.
Hold on. Sorry, I'll say one thing I liked actually about the ending. I like the idea that he's like, we have to throw a bomb down a dimension, right? Okay, that's fine. I mean, it's silly, and you guys think it's silly too, but it basically works within the construct of that story. And then upping the game by saying you have to take one of them with you down the hole because of DNA. I actually thought that was pretty clever and a way to put like a balancing coffee cup on top of a balancing rock. That I thought, well, how are they going to get out of this? And I thought that was an interesting method. So there, huh?
There you go.
Nice.
Now you don't have to rip me in the comments, guys.
Too late.
Also, it actually, introduced some relevance to the Charlie Day subplot.
Yeah.
Like if they managed to tie that into a way that ultimately wasn't essential, it's like that would have been really frustrating.
Yeah, I would have been like, why did we endure that? But
I don't know.
I will say this about the ending too. I actually found it refreshing that the white dude and the Asian woman don't make out at the end. And I say that because
they did have that ending, by the way, shot. They just didn't do it. You heard that, right? There's alternate endings, and one of them was a hug, one of them was a kiss, one of them was like a high five or something, and they went with
I'm glad
that
they
one.
didn't do the kiss.
I agree. 'cause
I'm
it's
glad they
not-
did that. Yeah, I'm glad they didn't do the kiss for a variety of reasons, but one of them is that it's like shows that their bond kind of transcends this cliche romance. You know what I
I'm
mean?
with you. I'm with you on
Yeah,
that.
it's like it felt more like they were partners in what they were doing as opposed to like a love interest. For each
Right,
other.
exactly.
Which is actually a step forward. That not all men and women relationships in action films have to be romantic. That's good.
So let me ask you this, guys: what the hell happened during the credits? Because I did not stay for it.
Well, I still wanted to, because my issue with the third act, like you're saying, like, oh, Toro went all the way with it. After that amazing second act, like the battle in the city, like that was, you're setting a pretty high bar for yourself, and I don't think that the third act lived up to that. Which is, it's fine.
Whoa, Adam, I'm going to stop you right there. This film's third act is amazing. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Good one.
Well, like, okay, they say like it's the biggest one yet. Like they have the kaiju come out, and it's like, well, it kind of just looks like all the other kaiju.
Right.
Yeah,
but especially like when you have like close-ups of giant robots versus giant monsters, and you don't have anything else to really compare the scale to.
Yeah.
It just makes it you don't really get a sense of like how big they are. So I thought like the underwater battle had some cool moments, but it ultimately was sort of underwhelming given what preceded it.
It was underwhelming.
But I thought like they still had an opportunity to actually go all the way with it, which is actually like, okay, well, you have this other side of a dimension here. Like you have a portal going somewhere. It's like, why don't we have a cool action sequence wherever we're going? But maybe at that point it's like, oh, we're out of money. So
Would you say it was
we spent it all on that fucking city battle? And he's like, okay.
Would you say it was watered down?
Oh no. I'd say they diluted it quite a bit.
I hear that complaint, Adam, just because by the time we are fighting a kaiju in space and you stab the kaiju, while sort of in the upper atmosphere, that was so ridiculously awesome. I'm not sure how you could have really topped that, you know? So it's a shame that we had to go underwater and lose some of the scale.
So what happened in the
like
credits?
the Alien World, I feel like that was was your answer. Like if you that's how you could have topped yourself.
Yeah.
But I ultimately don't feel like they didn't even really try to do that. They gave you a glimpse of it. That was cool. I would have liked to see more.
Yeah.
So, what happened during the credits, guys?
So remember Hannibal Chow was eaten by that monster?
Yes.
Turns out he was not eaten by that monster. He cuts out of the monster's belly with his knife.
And he says, "Where's my shoe?" Yeah.
Yes.
He says, "Where's my goddamn shoe?" And everyone in the theater laughed. It was so funny.
I love that, if this if this movie continues as a franchise, I love that Ron Perlman's still around. So I
did like that they explained why he has an Asian last name. Like I was actually afraid he might be playing an Asian person.
That is your constant fear in these movies. Like, please, for the love of God, don't be doing Asian things.
Please don't be a white person playing an Asian person, because otherwise...
That's all I ask. Meet me 1%.
It will deeply upset me for the rest. I won't be able to view this with an unbiased lens.
Dear white people, meet me 1 yard towards my side.
That's right. That's right. So, anyway, on that note, I think we can wrap things up for today. Music from this podcast is probably going to come courtesy of Adam Warrock at adamwarrock.com. He writes the theme song for the /Filmcast. Let us know what you thought of Pacific Rim at /filmcast@gmail.com. You can also, you can also find more of our episodes at /filmcast.com. Before we wrap up today, we got to talk really briefly about what is going on with the show. Some people have noticed that Adam Quigley hasn't been on the show. And some people are, curious what's going on. So, Adam Quigley, you wanna let people in on some of what's going on here?
To a degree, sure. Well, I'll just say, I'm just like my personal leave of absence for personal reasons that I don't actually feel like delving into. But yeah, I will say, it's all on my end. What I've witnessed, I've not been too thrilled about. Which is for one thing, there's been an outpouring of support, which I do appreciate, but a lot of people have turned that into a lot of just random attacks against the people who are still working really hard to bring out this content. I don't like seeing vicious comments directed towards David and Devindra just because and then ended with bring Adam back. That's, I don't know, that's not productive. They've had and a lot of people coming up with random theories about why I left, which is David kicked me out or something, and it's that's not true. It's all on my end. I just want to make that clear. But yes, I do appreciate you guys wanting me back. If that does happen, it'll be because I'm in a place where I can do the show again. But yes, thank you. I do appreciate, not just the support, but also since we've started. I mean, I do like I feel like we've had a strong relationship in what we've been doing, and I'm glad that the show is going to continue, and I hope you guys will continue to support it.
Yeah. Well, to be clear, right? Everything Adam said is true, and Adam's just basically, it sounds like you're going to be taking an indefinite leave from the podcast to focus on other things, and that's totally reasonable. We always, like, everyone always knows that with podcasts in general, there always comes a day when someone on the podcast needs to do something else, and I'm not talking about just /Homecast. I'm talking about any podcast. So it happens. And on a personal note, it has been a freaking incredible journey, man. Like, we've been doing this for 5 years. I remember when we started the show on A Wing and a Prayer 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. It was like, hey, Devindra, I found this random, 19-year-old guy on the internet.
Let's go buy some Skype headsets and do this.
Let's go buy some Skype headsets and do this podcast. That's literally what it was. I mean, or not literally, but very close to what it was. And it takes a lot of faith to join some wacky random Asian dude on some journey like this. But you had that faith, Adam Quigley, and I think the podcast is something that has changed all of our lives. You know what I mean? Like, we've seen so many movies, and it has actually, like, led to changes in careers in our lives. And, like, my life would not be everything I have today. I would not have without the /Filmcast, right? And you have been a massive part of that. Like, without you, like, it's likely that there would have been no /Filmcast, or it definitely would have been in a different format if that was the case. So your contribution has been immeasurable, and really sad to see you go. But you got to do what you got to do, and from time to time, I'm sure you'll pop up every now and then. Maybe
I'd be happy to. And I really appreciate that. I will say, though, I think, like, it required a much bigger leap of faith on your part to trust me than the other way around. How misguided your trust may have been.
Yeah. Well, again, like, it's been great having you, Adam. We're going to keep doing the show. We're going to keep doing the show as long as we can keep doing it, And from time to time, we'll have you back on, especially when we think it's appropriate and when you think it's appropriate. I can already see a Man of Steel 2 review featuring Adam Quigley. Years in the future,
in which you love the film and I hate it.
Perhaps. But yeah. So, Adam, I think a lot of people are interested in kind of where they can find more of your crazy rantings, even if you're not on the /Filmcast. So you want to?
I kind of assume, like, if people were like, where's Adam? It's like I've kind of been at the exact same place all this time, where it's like you can contact me on Twitter, twitter.com/alwayswatching. I'm also on Facebook, just /Adam Quiggs. Like, there are other ways to contact me and find me if you feel like chatting about films and stuff. So
yeah, so check out Adam on Twitter and Facebook. Follow he, regardless of his participation on the /Filmcast, I can vouch for this. He still has strong opinions on things. I know that is shocking. But he still has strong opinions on things.
I saw you return to Twitter, Adam, and I was like, yes. Joy.
Soon to be followed by my leave from Twitter.
You're going to go Alec Baldwin style and just delete everything after 5 more quote-unquote Twitter incidents. You're just going to delete everything. I foresee this coming.
Yeah, it's probably within like 2 weeks.
But yeah, so I know a lot of people, were wondering what's going on. Great to have Adam on, especially for this movie, which I think is the perfect movie for Adam Quigley to review with us. And Adam, you will be missed. We'll see you back here from time to time, and thanks for joining us in the /Filmcast. So let's wrap things up. You already know where you can find Adam. Devindra Hardor, where can I find you on the internet this week?
Sure, you can find me on Twitter at twitter.com/Devindra and writing about tech at venturebeat.com.
And Laramie Legal.
Twitter, LAREMY. If you pop that name into iTunes, you'll find a number of podcasts, including Brad and Laramie on movies. And then my book, if you just put in Film Critic to Amazon, you can read all my crazy rants and wrong-headed ideas there.
I think someone should write a top 10 list in the style of Laramie for Film Critic, the book, I think.
Oh, that'd be pretty easy. That's low-hanging fruit, David.
But Laramie, seriously though, despite the very heated conversation, I think this review is much more interesting with someone who didn't absolutely love the movie.
Oh no,
Well,
definitely.
someone who did.
Yeah.
And let's be clear. I respect the hell out of all three of you. And even when we disagree on something, I understand where you're coming from. And if people want to be mad at me for not liking the movie, just know I'm not mad at you for loving it. So that's
right.
fine.
All right.
Nothing but love.
So this
Nothing but
isn't like Lincoln. This isn't another Lincoln situation, right?
I'm sorry I wasn't there for that one. Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, Laramie got pretty upset about that one.
I do. I'm very passionate.
You're very passionate. All right. And you can find me at davechen.net. A lot of my video work is there. You can find me at twitter.com/davechensky. That's Dave Chen, SKY. And at /film.com. I'm also launching a new Breaking Bad podcast at theoneswhoknock.com to cover the last season of Breaking Bad. So next week, Devindra Hardawar, we haven't really talked about this. But for next week, I think what we're going to try to do is Only God Forgives, the new Nicholas Winding Refn film.
Oh, yes.
Starring Ryan Gosling. I think we're going to try to do that. If not, I'm going to argue for either like Act of Killing or the other film, Fruitvale Station, right? Like those are some other films that we might review next week.
Sure.
The movie I can tell you that we are not reviewing is R.I.P.D. We'll also probably not be reviewing Red 2. So
I'm reviewing R.I.P.D. for Filmcom, so that could be interesting.
all right.
Oh boy.
I look forward to that. Laramie, I'm just going to put this out there, okay? If your viciousness against R.I.P.D. is not as vicious as your viciousness against Pacific Rim, I will be disappointed. But I'm assuming R.I.P.D. is going to be bad.
We'll see.
I'm almost interested in seeing R.I.P.D. just because it was shot in Boston. So I'm kind of nostalgic for Boston. It's probably going to be Only God Forgives or Act of Killing or Fruitvale Station, one of those movies. Or who knows, maybe Turbo because of what Laramie said this week.
I did enjoy Turbo. See it. See Turbo.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening to the official podcast of /film.com. We're out.
We watch the movie.